Welcome and thank you for joining us for the second half hour of The Factor Uncensored tonight. A family in Indiana dealing with horrible pain after the loss of their child. 10-year-old Sammy Touche took his own life last Sunday. His parents say his classmates constantly bullied him about his appearance, his teeth, and his glasses, up until the day he decided to commit suicide. His parents also say they complained to the school district 20 times about the bullying. The school district superintendent denies receiving any kind of report. Joining us to talk about it, parent Demetrius Walker, mental health counselor Shantia Wolf, and parent Dale Lynn Settle. Glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. We're always here. We're always too late to save a life. And you know what? It's like bullying has been going on forever, since the beginning of time. But some kids are not equipped for it. And they take this ultimate jump.
Yes, you're right, but what we have now, is, particularly in Texas, is a law that makes it a misdemeanor. We have David's Law since 2017, so we can empower families and children to fight back.
Do we think we're using this law enough here in Texas, and should it be in other states around the country?
I don't think we're using it enough, and I think we need to start looking at how we reframe education altogether, because I think we're focusing too much on IQ and not EQ. We need to really look at emotional intelligence and teach kids about human psychology and the differences between each other and diversity, whether it be neurodiversity, whether it be racial diversity, ethnic diversity. Those kind of things are not being taught, and unfortunately kids are getting teased and bullied, and you see the outcome that happens.
What is our job as parents, Dale Lynn, to make sure this doesn't happen to our child? And what do you expect also from teachers in the classroom?
I think that as a parent, our responsibility is education, conversations. Especially with our older kids, sometimes we think, oh, they're not ready to handle some of these conversations, and they are. So in my case, I would sit down with some of my older children. I have a sophomore in high school, and let her know, like, these things are happening. Something that I see often working in schools is I see a lot of parents in denial. They say that or think that their child would never do this to another child. You would be so surprised what your children do when you're not around. So I definitely think that having an open mind and not putting anything past them, and believe the teachers. When the teachers are bringing things to your attention, believe them. Don't always just take the side of your child. And I think for teachers, they are doing the best that they can do. I see it every day. They're in the classrooms. They are, you know, advocating for other students. But sometimes there's over 40 kids in classes, and they cannot stop everything that's happening. So at home, I do believe that we need to be making sure we're having conversations with our kids.
And Dale Lynn makes a very good point, Shantia, where she says parents get very defensive about their children, and they will stand against a teacher believing their child, and internally they know they got a badass kid, but they don't want to deal with it.
Perhaps, but you know, I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying about parents. I think parents need to empower themselves with information. That superintendent said that he didn't receive any reports. Well, it's on the responsibility of the parent to read through all the packets at the beginning of the school year, the handbook, some of the district information to know how do you submit a report? What are the policies? What are the procedures?
So do you think they made that up, or they just didn't go through proper procedure where he could say, I have the paper trail that you reported this?
That's exactly what, a paper trail, and be able to know like what the district stance is, and then how to not only abide by that, but beat that. Because they're going to cover themselves, so the parents have to also protect themselves and their kids.
What advice would you give to teachers, educators who may see this but don't quite know what to do about it?
Get support. Don't feel like you're in the classroom by yourself. Get support from the school counselor, social worker, administrators, parents. You're not by yourself in the classroom. Education happens in the classroom, but it also happens outside the classroom. It needs to be a whole community approach when it comes to children.
And Demetrius, as a parent, if you found out your child was bullying someone, how would you handle that as a parent?
Oh, I would take corrective action immediately. You know, first of all, that phone is gone. You know, the kids can't live without the technology, so that would be gone. And if we had to escalate it any further from there, we certainly would go there.
All right. We want to thank you guys for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. We appreciate it. And for coming out in this weather. Demetrius, a tree fell on your car.
Tree fell
but
on
you
my car.
still made it here to the factor, and we're glad you're okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.